Hello, all you lovely computer people out there, and welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today we're looking at this lovely specimen here. Now, looking at it, you probably have no idea what the heck it is, but for those of you with really good eyes, you're like, wait. This plant's scientific name is Stevia rebaudiana, also known as stevia. Yeah, the one that they put in all those drinks and stuff now. The one that has its good points and its bad points. We'll get into that in a moment. Stevia is in the Asteraceae family, which means it's a daisy. The name Stevia itself comes from, well, it's basically named for a Spanish botanist slash physicist named Petrus Jacobus Stevus. Rebaudiana, Diania, is named for a Paraguayan chemist, or Ovidio Rebaudi. So it's named after two different guys. Yeah. Anyway, it's native to Brazil and Paraguay. Interesting. It's hardy in USDA zones 10 through 11, where it's considered an herbaceous perennial. Now, out here at the test gardens, we're in zone 8B, so it's an annual, like from zone 9 and lower. Can't have it all, am I right? Now, you can bring it in as a winter plant, so there is that, and as far as I can tell, it is pet safe. Now, its soil pH preference is 6.7 to 7.2, but the soil must be well drained and preferably a loamy sand kind of soil. You don't have to make that. Regular potting soil should do. Just throw a little bit of sand in there to get the effect. Now, its exposure is full sun to part shade, and its height will be 1 to 2 feet with a width of 1 to 2 feet. Now, this particular plant, I bought at a nursery because it was nice and bushy and columnar, and I really need to snip the top to get it to really bush out. But it looks great right now, and I'm hesitant to do anything to it. Now, stevia is also known by other names like sweet leaf, sweet herb, candy leaf, and honey cabbage, which was a weird one that I just had to include. Now, this plant, as I mentioned, can be bought indoors for winter. It should be pet safe. Whether or not it can withstand the ravages of you and your family picking the leaves off it is a totally different issue. I would say the standard protocol for overwintering a plant applies. Water when dry, avoid fertilizer, that sort of thing. Let it go into that normal semi-dormancy that plants will do when they're brought in for the winter. When you bring it in for the winter, you can expect that it may or may not drop leaves, and it may or may not go herbaceous. Just keep that in mind. Now, the sweetness in stevia comes from steviol glycosides, mainly stevioside and rebaudioside, which sounds like it ought to be a 1980s era punk band. But anyway, the sweeteners are about 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. Now, if you've ever eaten a leaf of this, you understand that you sit there and go, who comes up with these measurements? But apparently our taste receptors in our tongues detect it that way. And then they've figured out how to register that as well. Now, commercial cultivation of stevia took off in the 1960s. Although it seems like it landed everywhere in the 90s, that was a phenomenon in the making. Encouraging people to grow stevia instead of other things took about 30-ish years to start winning over places that would grow this and establishing the markets for it, because that's, nowadays with the internet, it's a little bit faster, but back then, no, not so much. The downside of this plant is that it is not useful for fermentation. The sweetening compounds aren't actually sugar, and as far as I can tell, aside from any yeast that is already on the leaf, i.e. like making pine soda where the yeast is on the needles already, it doesn't ferment well. Now, the 0 calories claim that comes with it is because we cannot metabolize the glycosides. We can taste them, but our body can't really do anything with it, so it just gets passed. Now, that you've heard this before in the case of Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes, which, honestly, I think that's the worst branding name ever. Sunchoke sounds like something kinky you do in Under the Full Sun. But anyway, I digress. Who am I to make fun of an agricultural product? I sell propane. Anyway, Yeah, so we can't metabolize the glycoside, so they pass. The good news is, unlike with sunchokes, you don't get a case of the farts. Yeah, it has been well documented that sunchokes will give you gas. And since that's in the aster family, haha, full circle. So anyway, the net advantage of stevia is that it can lower blood sugar and blood pressure, and it can be used. It can act as a diuretic. Diuretic. Um, the downside of stevia that has always been a stumbling block is that certain compounds in the leaves can make them give them a bitter aftertaste. And stevia, originally as marketed, did not work in hot drinks. However, you can mellow this out with other sweeteners, which almost defeats the point, but you can. And stevia is really easy to grow. It is a summertime plant. I mean, look at this one. This plant has doubled in size since I've had it in preparation for this video, which was, I bought this thing last month and it did all this without any. And in fact, most of the time it wasn't in this pot. So there's that. Menace. I know y'all saw that. Menace being cute off screen and looking to scratch the screens that go outside. He's a bum. But anyway, there are plenty of stevia products on the market, like the stevia soda. I think it's called like Stevo or something. There are stevia sweeteners packaged up to replace sugar. It's in a bunch of things. It's often combined with sucralose, basically as a moderating agent. Since it's naturally available in bulk, it moderates out sucralose, which is a chlorine in a sugar molecule, and it's I want to say it's a couple thousand times sweeter than sugar, or based on our taste receptors. So that's stevia in a nutshell for you. If you guys have grown stevia, had any thoughts about it, please put them in the comments. If you haven't already, please hit like or subscribe. The blog is still going, so you can check that out. There's a link in the description to that. And as always, folks, thanks for watching and keep them growing.